The set of Heart of Embers was tense. The director was frustrated after an actor dropped out last minute and needed someone to play a psychotic killer. The casting director, Xiao Song, burst in, saying he'd found the perfect replacement. The director was skeptical, but watched as Xiao Song introduced a young man dressed in black.
Xiao He looked the part. He smiled faintly, took off his sunglasses, and said his name. The director's eyes widened. Xiao He had a strange presence, cold, distant eyes, and a tall, imposing figure that perfectly matched the killer in the script.
The director wondered where Xiao Song had found him. Seeing the director's silence, Xiao Song whispered that Xiao He didn't want payment, only to kill someone in the first scene.
This both interested and unsettled the director, who now eyed Xiao He warily, wondering if he was a real psychopath.
But Xiao He was struggling inside. He'd been a normal college student until he suddenly got a criminal cheat skill system. It forced him to kill and spread terror to gain skills and extend his life. If he stopped, his lifespan would drain fast and he'd die suddenly. As a genuinely good person, he was horrified by this. He was weak and worried he might get killed himself.
Luckily, he found a loophole. While acting in an anti-Japanese drama, he killed a Japanese soldier on camera. The system counted it and gave him a point. He realized that as long as his character killed someone, the system accepted it.
But as an extra, his kills earned few points, so he looked for bigger villain roles at a nearby studio, where he met Xiao Song.
The director explained Xiao He's role, a refined psychopath who chases victims with a chainsaw. Xiao He put on his costume and gold-rimmed glasses. When he stepped out, everyone gasped.
His pale face, sinister eyes, and the chainsaw dripping fake blood gave off such a chilling vibe that even Xiao Song stammered, wondering if he'd brought a real killer and if they should call the police.
The actress playing the victim, Meng Lulu, trembled and asked if this was real.
Xiao He sighed and gently introduced himself to Meng Lulu, trying to calm her. Since getting the system, he developed a natural criminal aura that only got stronger holding a weapon pop, making it feel like a real crime was happening. He stepped back quietly, hoping to ease the tension, but it didn't help much.
When the director yelled action, Xiao He charged at Meng Lulu with the chainsaw roaring. Her screams were so real and terrifying, she collapsed, scrambling backward in fear. The crew and director froze, wondering if they should call the police.
Nearby, director Hao Rong-shuen peeked over, nearly had a heart attack, and shouted for someone to call the police, convinced a real killer had gone mad.
Xiao He ran into a problem. His killer act was so realistic, the police showed up and stopped filming. The flustered director tried to explain it was just a scene, but the officer stayed cautious.
When Xiao He picked up the chainsaw prop to prove it was fake, its buzzing made the police reach for their guns. He quickly rubbed the soft teeth on his arm to show it couldn't hurt anyone, easing the tension.
Officer Zhang, the lead cop, turned to Meng Lulu, who was still crying hard. The director tried to praise Xiao He's acting, but Officer Zhang told him to let Meng Lulu speak. She apologized, saying she'd gotten too scared and lost control, causing the misunderstanding. Another officer confirmed Xiao He was a university student with a clean record, but Officer Zhang still looked at him suspiciously.
He told Xiao He to keep up the good acting, a comment that felt like a warning.
Officer Zhang couldn't shake the feeling something was off. Xiao He's eyes held a coldness and bloodlust that reminded him of a serial killer he dealt with years ago. It was strange to see that in a college student. As the police prepared to leave, a shaken Meng Lulu asked if an officer could stay for 20 more minutes to feel safer during filming. Officer Zhang agreed and assigned Officer Lee to stay behind.
He quietly told Officer Lee to watch Xiao He but not interfere. Filming resumed. Xiao He became the chilling killer again, stalking Meng Lulu with a manic smile and raising the chainsaw. Meng Lulu screamed and writhed in terror. The director, now excited, called cut and praised Xiao He's perfect one-take performance. Officer Lee, who had watched the whole scene, rushed over to check on Meng Lulu, still suspicious. He helped her up and asked Xiao He if he was a performing arts major, given how real his acting was. Xiao He said he studied computer science. When Officer Lee asked how he acted like that, Xiao He just said it was talent. After his intense performance as a serial killer, Officer Lee left the set with mixed feelings. But Director Wang was impressed enough to keep Xiao He in the crew. Meng Lulu, who had been genuinely scared, apologized to Xiao He for almost affecting his performance and suggested he try to soften his sharp, intimidating aura and gaze.
Xiao He shrugged it off, knowing his criminal demeanor was hard to hide and often forced him to wear sunglasses and a mask just to avoid being reported to the police again.
While talking with Meng Lulu, Xiao He learned that director Wang specialized in formulaic idol dramas. Their current project, Heart of Embers, was basically an idol romance disguised as a crime drama, with Xiao He's serial killer character being the only real troublemaker.
The rest of the cast were paired off to satisfy fans who wanted romance. Xiao He finished his scenes in 2 days. Though the leads were still shaken by his chainsaw-wielding act, no one called the police this time. In his final scene, his character was shot by the male lead and died with a mocking smirk and regret. Once his character was confirmed dead, the crew, especially male lead Zhao Shuyu, breathed a huge sigh of relief. Xiao He's convincing evil made Zhao Shuyu, who played the criminal investigation leader, look weak and nervous in their scenes together.
Unaware of their relief, Xiao He was just happy to see 10 points added to his system, bringing his total to 20. He opened a system panel, which was very basic, showing a lottery with tiers starting at 100 points. His 20 points weren't enough for a draw. Frustrated, he complained to the system, calling it a wage-slave system, and tried to bargain for a beginner's draw.
The system stayed silent for a moment. Then a beginner's draw button appeared, letting him draw once for 10 points, but only for 1 minute. Xiao He quickly pressed the button twice.
Instead of flashy effects, the system just showed text. He had learned the bone-cleaving knife technique, which lets him quickly reduce a living person to bare bones, useful for disposing of bodies, making bloody art, scaring the police, and improving his anatomy knowledge.
He also gained lifespan plus 30 days, a vital boost for survival.
Xiao He suddenly gained detailed knowledge about anatomy, bones, joints, and knife techniques, making him terrifyingly skilled at reducing a body to bare bones. Disturbed, he muttered that he wasn't a psychopath.
Then Xiao Song caught up with him, handing over a red envelope from the director as thanks for saving the production time by working unpaid. Since Xiao He's role was basically a degman, the envelope was a customary good luck gift.
He accepted it, still shaken by the new skill.
As he left, Hao Rongshuan, the director who had once mistaken him for a real killer and called the police, approached. Hao, a slightly overweight man with a balding head, praised Xiao He's acting from a hillside vantage point and offered him a role.
Curious, Xiao He asked what it was. Ho showed him a newspaper clipping about the Rongtou Pig Farm Brothers case, a notorious unsolved crime from 20 years ago in Lu City.
The youngest brother, still on the run, had committed brutal crimes, including dismembering a family and feeding them to pigs. Hao wanted Xiao He to play this youngest brother.
He said the victim's elderly family had approved the project and requested the actor resemble the criminal by 70–80%, with the wanted poster prominently displayed in promotions, hoping to finally catch the fugitive before the old couple died.
Xiao He hesitated, knowing the role would bring heavy backlash since the criminal was still free. He recalled a similar drama that was harshly criticized for disrespecting victims.
Looking at the wanted poster, he saw the criminal's ugly, swollen face, nothing like his own. The request felt like being asked to embody a monster rather than help catch him.
Despite Hu's insistence that the film would aid the family's cause, Xiao He realized the better move might be to call the police on Hu instead of playing the fugitive.
Director Hao Rongshuan told Xiao He his unique aura and build were perfect for the role and promised makeup would make him unrecognizable. Xiao He wasn't classically handsome, but had well-balanced features that could fit many characters, a real chameleon face.
His only issue was a gloomy, intense vibe that made him seem like a natural villain. Ho Rongshuan stressed the role's importance and admitted he'd considered AI face replacement before meeting Xiao He. Reluctantly, Xiao He agreed, but warned he wasn't professionally trained. Ho Rongshuan just told him to perform naturally, which Xiao He found insulting.
They went straight to the set, a large mountainside filming base with various elaborate backdrops. Hao Rongshuan led him past the forest where Xiao He had worked before to a makeshift factory shed.
There, he introduced Xiao He to Feng Songyue, the special effects makeup artist. Feng Songyue, a sharp, no-nonsense woman, barely reacted to Xiao He's intense presence. She told him to sit, examined his face, and decided to do basic makeup and take face molds that day, saving the full work for tomorrow. Meanwhile, word spread that Ho Rongshuan had found someone for third brother. Liu Zehang, who played second brother, was surprised. His assistant confirmed the newcomer was handsome, but had an unapproachable, gloomy aura.
Liu Zehang, a skilled actor who didn't mind villain roles, worried about the new actor's abilities. The film, Killing Life, was important to him, and the third brother role was sensitive, based on a real case, and requiring actors to look deliberately unattractive, which had scared off many candidates.
Liu feared a bad performance from third brother could hurt his own.
While Liu and his assistant talked, Uncle Lee arrived carrying a case. The assistant thanked him for the needed item. Uncle Lee casually asked if they'd seen the new actor, saying he'd heard the man was handsome, unlike the character Zhu third brother.
The assistant glanced at Liu, who nodded slightly.
then said he'd only seen the newcomer briefly and wasn't impressed. Uncle Lee nodded and left. After a long makeup session, Xiao He finally saw his transformation into the character of Zhu's third brother. The film's screenwriter, Xiao He, was stunned by the accuracy, declaring the resemblance practically identical. When director Hao Rongxuan returned and saw Xiao He immediately approved him for the role and rushed to sign the contract. Xiao He was genuinely surprised by the generous payment, a small fortune compared to his previous life, and readily agreed to the month-long commitment, even with the director's warning about the discomfort of prosthetic makeup in the summer heat. Ever the practical college student, Xiao He simply asked for an internship certificate for his university, which director Hao agreed to provide.
The next day, Xiao He arrived early for his complex makeup. As he sat, a crew member, an older man everyone called Uncle Lee, came by to distribute water.
Xiao He politely thanked him, but the moment their eyes met, his smile vanished. He felt an unsettling presence, a strong criminal aura coming from Uncle Lee. Since gaining his system, Xiao He had developed a passive ability, a criminal instinct, that allowed him to sense such things. He had used it before to identify a petty thief, but this was different.
Uncle Lee reeked of violence, a true killer with multiple lives on his hands.
Xiao He instinctively reached for his phone to call the police, but hesitated. What could he say? That he just felt the man was a murderer? He had no evidence, and explaining his instinct would only incriminate himself. Frustrated, he decided to observe for now. Soon after, Bao Wei, one of the finest actors of his generation, arrived. Surprised to find someone already in the makeup chair, he recognized Xiao He as the new actor for Third Brother. Xiao He, thrilled to meet such a respected figure, greeted him enthusiastically. Bao Wei looked him over, then patted his shoulder, praising his impressive presence and telling him to maintain it. He clearly believed Xiao He was already deep in character. Xiao He's smile faltered. He realized Bao Wei had mistaken his natural, unsettling criminal aura for brilliant acting. The irony was not lost on him. His unique problem was once again being lauded as a talent. On the set of Killing Life, Xiao He kept an eye on Uncle Lee in the makeup area. Uncle Lee looked ordinary, but Xiao He's special ability detected a criminal aura around him. Xiao He wondered if Uncle Lee had a hidden role in the production. He saw Uncle Lee offer water to Li Hanye, a beautiful young actress. Li Hanye thanked him and said to just call her Xiao Li, since they shared a surname and were practically family. Uncle Lee laughed and insisted she deserved the respectful title of Teacher Li because of her status. Li Hanye protested, but Uncle Lee said it was only right. His other interactions were much briefer. Then Uncle Lee caught Xiao He's gaze in the mirror. With no way to avoid it, Xiao He smiled, forgetting that his criminal identity now made his smile look provocative and sinister.
Uncle Lee's expression darkened briefly. He stared at Xiao He for a long moment, then turned away. Xiao He shrugged, thinking a sincere smile was still his best weapon. When filming began, director Hao Rongxuan switched from friendly to tyrannical, barking orders about props and demanding sharpened knives. Xiao He took his place, receiving a butcher's knife. His mind quickly analyzed the blade as ideal for deboning. Ho asked if Xiao He had reviewed the script and knew his role, to stand behind the main actors and make exaggerated cutting motions, dropping pre-prepared props without actually cutting. Xiao He said he could cut properly and had decent knife skills. Ho was surprised but warned that this was a real pig carcass, requiring knowledge of anatomy and proper cutting techniques. He said the other actors, Lu Zheong and Bao Wei, had special training for this. Xiao He didn't argue. He spun the knife in his hand and slammed it down with a loud bang. Everyone jumped. Bao Wei frowned until he noticed the hanging pork ribs above Xiao He's head. Now completely clean bone with all the meat sliced perfectly and neatly piled below. Ho's anger vanished, replaced by excitement. He asked if anyone had filmed it, but no one had. Seeing Ho's disappointment, Xiao He offered to demonstrate bone cleaving too, thinking to himself that pig bones and human bones weren't much different.
Oblivious to Xiao He's thought, He called for props. Uncle Lee, despite his slim frame, easily lifted half a pig carcass onto the table, showing surprising strength. Xiao He asked Ho if Uncle Lee was a regular crew member. Hao said he'd hired Uncle Lee during production and kept him on because of his strength and work ethic. Xiao He fell silent, his suspicions about Uncle Lee growing. Filming began with Xiao He as Zhu's third brother. Though the crew worried about his inexperience, he immediately got into character, playing the vicious role with chilling realism. His way of chopping pork bones looked like dismembering human bones, unsettling everyone. Lu Zheong, playing second brother, struggled with his lines under Xiao He's intense presence and was scolded by director Hao. No one saw Xiao He as just an amateur anymore. Some quietly suspected he might be a real murderer.
The next day, Xiao He filmed school bullying scenes and was surprised to find Li Hanye, whom he'd seen with Uncle Lee, playing the victim Wu Xiaohua. In tattered clothes and pale-faced, she looked truly pitiful.
Her character's fate was tragic. Bullied, then raped and killed by third brother, her body fed to pigs. What caught Xiao He's attention was Uncle Li's unusual care toward Li Han-ye.
Suspecting something, Xiao He talked with her and learned she was an acting student his age, specially recruited by Director Ho. She seemed normal, which only made Xiao He more uneasy. Director Ho then called for the next scene, clearing the set. Xiao He suddenly remembered he had to play a beast, dragging the victim into the woods. Panicked and unsure how to act, he kept messing up takes. Ho yelled at him for lacking expression and intensity, frustrated by his poor performance. After several outbursts, Ho called a break. Xiao He apologized, and Ho admitted he'd been too impatient and hadn't prepared him mentally for the dark role. Li Hanyue, seeing Xiao He's nervousness, comforted him, saying he was doing well for a beginner. Xiao He blushed, wishing he could disappear. Ho still wondered aloud if Xiao He had ever actually killed anyone. Unable to get the scene right, Ho decided to take a break and figure something else out, which relieved Xiao He. In the following days, Xiao He filmed slaughterhouse scenes. He excelled, delivering cold-blooded cruelty in single takes without direction. Pleasing Ho. Xiao He was happy too, since these scenes, bullying, threatening competitors, peeping, robbing, counted as criminal acts that earned him system points. Only director-approved takes counted, but he still gained small amounts daily, making his life more judicial. His strong performance earned him friendliness from other actors. Li Hanyue lent him her acting notes, and Lu Zheong, frustrated by retakes, privately asked Xiao He how to show killing intent. Xiao He, who naturally gave off that vibe, just shrugged and said he couldn't teach it. Meanwhile, Xiao He kept a close eye on Li Zhiqing. The man was suspiciously hardworking and friendly but showed special interest in Li Hanyue, chatting longer when bringing her water and watching her during breaks. Xiao He's passive skill flagged something, but he wasn't sure how to expose Li Zhiqing without risking himself. One day, Li Zhiqing brought Li Hanyue a package, mentioning she'd forgotten to change the delivery address. As Li Zhiqing seemed about to say more, Xiao He quickly interrupted, asking him for help with the next scene. Li Zhiqing stared coldly, clenched his hands, then forced a smile and walked away silently. The tension between them was clear. For over 2 weeks, Xiao He subtly blocked Li Zhiqing from getting close to Li Hanyue, often bringing Lu Zheong along so it looked like the three were just friends.
Li Qixin wasn't fooled. His eyes showed clear murderous intent. But since the slaughterhouse scenes were almost done, he held back.
Xiao He finally finished his last scene, acting out the desperate hunger of someone starved for 3 days. He'd only drunk water during that time, so when the director called cut, he rushed to the bucket of fried chicken and devoured it. Lu Zheong joked that Xiao He was unstoppable, like the parents in Spirited Away still alive. Comfortable with each other now, Xiao He playfully kicked Lu Zheong. He felt lucky to have worked with 2 great crews.
This shoot earned Xiao He 40 system points, more than before. He decided to keep acting, purely out of interest. As filming wrapped, he quietly asked around about new roles.
He first asked Lu Zheong, who was surprised and asked if Xiao He planned to pursue acting seriously. Despite being older, Lu Zheong and Li Hanyue called him Brother Xiao because of his intimidating presence. Xiao He gave a vague yes, not revealing his real reason. Lu Zheong mentioned a modern romance drama by director Enren, but Xiao He quickly refused, knowing he didn't fit that style. Lu Zheong, frustrated by his company pushing idol dramas, had no other scripts but suggested Xiao He ask director Ho, who had many contacts. Just then, lead actor Zhuo Jianhua arrived. After greetings, Zhuo Jianhua unexpectedly called Xiao He aside. Lu Zheong winked, sure it was good news. In a private room, Zhuo Jianhua said a friend's son had written a script with a role perfect for Xiao He. Surprised and pleased, Xiao He asked about the script and role. Zhuo Jianhua, impressed by Xiao He's spirited acting and knife skills, said it was a martial arts drama. The role was a cook skilled with a bone-removing knife, not the lead but important. Xiao He's eyes lit up. He asked if the role involved killing people. Zhuo Jianhua looked puzzled but confirmed the character did kill. Xiao He accepted immediately. Before finishing Killing Life, Xiao He got the script for Thief Catcher. The story opened with the 3 Zhu brothers running a huge illegal monopoly. Police were closing in. Zhu's third brother, angry and scared, refused to run, saying there was no evidence. Zhu's big brother, knowing their business was too big to hide, slapped him and ordered him to escape into the mountains with help from Mountain Dad. Zhu's second brother stressed the family's future depended on it. Stunned but serious, Zhu's third brother packed and disappeared by dawn. When police came, only the eldest and second brothers were found. Zhu's third brother vanished for over 20 years. After a month of filming, Xiao He finished his role in Killing Life alongside Li Hanyue. The cast and crew, including Lu Zheong, Bao Wei, and Zhuo Jianhua, congratulated them. Director Ho Rongxuan said he had wanted to introduce Xiao He to another director, but Zhuo Jianhua had already made an offer, promising to work with Xiao He again in the future. Xiao He felt a bit sad about leaving, but that vanished when he saw his system points. A hard-earned 100. He finally had enough for another draw. hoping the real Zhu third brother would be caught someday. Xiao He pressed the lottery button. The system gave him hacking skills, beginner level. As a computer science major, Xiao He first thought it was useless. But then a flood of advanced hacking knowledge filled his mind, far beyond what he'd learned in school. He realized beginner already put him among top hackers, able to move through networks like a ghost and skirt the law's edges. He wondered what higher levels would be like. With filming done, Xiao He planned to return to school. He invited Li Hanyue, but she said a friend was coming to pick her up. Just then, a black car pulled up, and Li Jiqing, the suspicious prop master, offered them a ride. Xiao He grew wary. Li Jiqing said the director sent him to buy props, but the look in his eyes made Xiao He suspicious. Realizing Li Jiqing was making a move, Xiao He decided to face it and got into the car, telling Li Hanyue he'd go with Uncle Li. She declined, saying her friend was coming. Li Jiqing's expression darkened before he drove off. Inside the car, silence fell. Xiao He stayed calm, hands on his lap, looking straight ahead. Li Jiqing lit a cigarette and asked if Xiao He smoked. He declined politely. After a while, Li Jiqing asked why Xiao He became an actor. Xiao He said it was partly luck but mostly to expose Zhu third brother's vile nature. Li Jiqing scoffed, calling him righteous. Xiao He then asked how Li Jiqing thought his performance as Zhu third brother was. Li Jiqing said he didn't know much about acting but guessed the real killer would be shocked by the resemblance. Xiao He pressed on, asking if Li Jiqing thought the killer would ever be caught. Li Jiqing chuckled, saying it had been over 20 years, so who knew what condition the killer was in now. Xiao He casually mentioned a news story about a fugitive who hid near his victims' families for years, enjoying their suffering. He asked if Li Jiqing thought Zhu third brother might be doing the same, maybe even knowing a film crew was making a movie about his crime. Li Jiqing froze, his cigarette trembling as ashes fell, then stared coldly at Xiao He. Xiao He smiled without malice but with a mocking edge, as if he already knew everything. He joked about what Zhu third brother's reaction would be if he found out, maybe wanting to visit the set or critique the performance. Li Jiqing licked his dry lips and said he wouldn't know. Xiao He then asked about Li Jiqing's strong accent and if he was originally from C province, where the murders happened. Li Jiqing said he just came to broaden his horizons. Then, smirking, he praised Xiao He's knife skills as unique and asked how he practiced them. Xiao He quietly said it was the bone-cleaving knife technique. He explained the key to debating was speed and precision. If fast enough, you could see muscles twitch from nerve reflexes and bones move under the blade. But if too slow, the knife would get stuck between bones, making creaking sounds and ruining the work's efficiency. Li Jiqing's eyes narrowed, clearly understanding the warning. Li Jiqing looked in the rearview mirror. The young man met his gaze, his malicious eyes eerily mirroring someone from 20 years prior, then asked if Uncle Li had ever experienced that. Riding with Li Jiqing one day, their car suddenly slammed into the vehicle ahead. Xiao He's nose hit the seat, bringing tears to his eyes, while Li Jiqing appeared to strain his neck. Li Jiqing quickly apologized, claiming the car ahead braked unexpectedly, but Xiao He couldn't shake the feeling it was deliberate, especially after catching a fleeting murderous glint in Li Jiqing's eyes. Before they could fully recover, the front car's doors burst open. A masked young man, flanked by 2 bodyguards, immediately began cursing them, accusing them of being stalkers and pounding on their window. Li Jiqing, furious, rolled down his window and argued back, pointing out that the front car had braked suddenly. The masked man sneered, trying to open their door and threatening to expose them. As the argument escalated, Xiao He, from the back seat, quietly called the traffic police and emergency services. Soon, a middle-aged man in a suit, who Xiao He guessed was the masked man's manager, rushed over to restrain his client. The manager, Chang Hongwan, then turned his anger on Li Jiqing, demanding his name and threatening consequences. Li Jiqing scoffed, refusing to take the blame, and their shouting match drew a crowd. Xiao He realized the masked man was Ran Yunrui, a celebrity, and Chang Hongwan was his manager. When Li Jiqing tried to stop Ran Yunrui from leaving, the situation devolved into a chaotic scuffle. Throughout the chaos, Xiao He had been secretly recording everything with a GoPro his roommate had lent him. He'd started filming right after the collision, determined to preserve evidence. When the traffic police arrived, Xiao He promptly submitted his video. The investigation revealed that Ran Yunrui's group had indeed been dealing with a stalker driving a similar car, which explained their aggressive reaction. However, without a dashcam in Li Jiqing's car, there was no definitive proof that Ran Yunrui's car had braked maliciously, a claim they denied. Li Jiqing was furious and demanded a thorough investigation. But Chang Hongwan, realizing the misunderstanding, quickly apologized and offered compensation to both Li Jiqing and Xiao He. Faced with the manager's smile and a thick envelope of cash, Li Jiqing's anger subsided, especially since the car wasn't even his. He pocketed the money, and Xiao He also accepted his envelope, settling the matter amicably. As dusk fell and Xiao He left the traffic police station, he found himself staring across the street at the district police station. He watched Li Ziqing still talking with Cheng Hongwen, his mind racing. All his probing had confirmed his suspicion. Li Ziqing was indeed Zhu's third brother, the fugitive from the Killing Life case. Xiao He suspected plastic surgery and identity theft, which would explain why the police hadn't recognized him. What truly baffled Xiao He was why a murderer would voluntarily join a film crew dramatizing his own crime. Lost in thought, Xiao He was startled when Officer Li, the rookie cop from a previous incident, suddenly appeared beside him. Officer Li looked between Xiao He and the police station, his expression complicated. He asked Xiao He what he was doing there, clearly wondering if Xiao He, with his unsettling aura, was about to confess to something. Xiao He didn't realize Officer Li now saw him as a criminal. When Xiao He said he'd just dealt with some trouble, Officer Li assumed he'd been arrested and released. The officer told him to be more careful, focus on acting, and hoped they wouldn't meet again. Xiao He was confused but didn't get a chance to explain before Officer Li left. Then Li Ziqing appeared, watching Officer Li walk away with a dark look. He asked Xiao He if he knew the police, clearly accusing him of betrayal. Xiao He, who had never done anything wrong, was baffled. He guessed Li Ziqing thought they were alike because of Xiao He's strong criminal aura, and maybe suspected Xiao He was also after Li Hanyue. Not wanting to be linked to Li Ziqing, Xiao He planned to report him to the police later, sure he had secrets. To bluff Li Ziqing, Xiao He said Officer Li was a close friend who came to check on him. This made Li Ziqing more serious. Xiao He declined Li Ziqing's offer to walk him out, and quickly took a cab. As Xiao He left, Li Ziqing's eyes showed murderous intent, muttering that he'd originally targeted someone else but now saw killing Xiao He, his other self, as a bigger challenge. Back in his dorm, Xiao He checked the news and saw Ran Yunrue's car accident was trending. Videos showed the wreck and Ran Yunrue on a stretcher, but the real story was insider chat logs claiming a stalker fan caused the crash. Fans were outraged and worried. Xiao He realized this was a PR stunt by Ran Yunrue's manager, Cheng Hongwen, designed to gain sympathy, boost fan loyalty, and paint stalkers as villains. He suspected most leaks and angry comments were paid for by the company. The spin was so convincing that if he hadn't seen the truth himself, he might have believed Ran Yunrue was seriously hurt. Shaking his head, Xiao He understood why people looked down on traffic stars who manipulated stories instead of relying on talent. He wondered how fans would react if they knew Ran Yunrue swore like punctuation. After confirming no footage of himself had leaked, Xiao He relaxed a bit, glad Cheng Hongwen hadn't stirred fan anger against him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have minded exposing Ran Yunrue's foul-mouthed outburst. Xiao He had just finished gathering all he could on Li Ziqing, who disappeared from the internet for nearly 3 years, when his phone buzzed with a late-night text from Li Hanyue asking to meet. The timing was strange. They'd only talked that afternoon, and Li Hanyue never arranged secret meetings without Lu Zheong, especially with their curfew. Xiao He asked if it was just the two of them, and the reply was yes, with something private to discuss. He immediately suspected it wasn't really her. He traced the login IP and hacked nearby cameras. The feed showed a crowded bar, flashing lights, and dancing bodies, far from campus. The account had been stolen, and the only likely thief was Li Ziqing, who'd been stalking Li Hanyue for months. Xiao He didn't reply and instead sent an anonymous tip to the police using an old, long-unused email from the Zhu brothers case plus some current official addresses, hoping someone was still paying attention. Meanwhile, above the bar, a man sharpened a butcher's knife under a flickering bulb. His phone kept ringing, but he ignored it, muttering that Zhu's third brother would pay soon. The blade gleamed, the light flickered out, and the room went dark. In Rong City, Wu Jiangwo lay awake. His son, Wu Juanqiang, told him an email had just arrived in the old tip line account Wu had kept checking since retirement. The notification blinked, and Wu's hands shook as he opened the inbox. Besides decades-old messages, there was a new email with a photo and surveillance footage. Wu's sharp eyes focused on a detail most miss: the suspect's ears, unchanged despite facial reconstruction. The ears matched Zhu's third brother, the fugitive from the Rongtou slaughterhouse case. Wu's heart raced. After 20 years, the case finally had a lead. Xiao He crouched in the dark underground garage of a bar, waiting. He'd sent emails hoping the police would catch Li Ziqing, but couldn't rest without seeing it himself. He worried that if Li Ziqing wasn't caught, he'd go after Li Hanyue again. As his legs went numb, hurried footsteps echoed. It wasn't the police. Xiao He hid and watched a man wrapped up like him slip into the shadows. He caught a faint smell of blood and felt uneasy. He decided to follow. Deeper inside, he heard angry voices. The newcomer asked why his accomplice had changed targets and ignored calls. Then came a sharp, wet sound and someone fell. Xiao He realized he'd stumbled on a murder. He triggered a backup plan, setting off a loud siren sound from the bar above, like a dozen police cars. The noise scared the attacker off. Xiao He approached and found Li Ziqing lying on the ground, bleeding from a chest wound. Li Ziqing weakly begged for help, but Xiao He felt no pity. Having played Zhu third brother before, he only saw a cruel man. Masked, with cold eyes, Xiao He knelt and reminded Li Ziqing how he'd brutalized Wu Xiaohua, how she begged for her life before he raped her again, dismembered her with his brothers, and threw her body into a pigsty to hide the evidence. Li Ziqing trembled, admitted guilt, and begged to be saved. Xiao He said he wasn't sorry, he just knew he was about to die. Suddenly, a footstep behind him triggered danger. Xiao He rolled away from a sneak attack and grabbed a butcher's cleaver nearby. One Li Ziqing had sharpened. With a quick, strong slash, he struck the attacker, who cried out and bled. Holding the cleaver up, Xiao He stared coldly at the injured man. The siren kept wailing as they faced off, but the attacker fled. Xiao He didn't feel relief. He just wounded someone and looked suspicious in his protective suit and gloves, worn to avoid leaving traces. He glanced at Li Ziqing's dead body, eyes wide open. Letting him die was almost too easy. A man like that deserved prison justice. He couldn't stay. Xiao He sent another command to the bar, claiming mysterious activity to lure patrons downstairs. Curious and drunk, they came down, and soon someone screamed upon finding the murder scene. After the chaos at the murder scene, Xiao He slipped away into the night. The next morning, his phone buzzed with urgent messages from Lu Zheong. Lu Zheong revealed that Uncle Li, the crew member who often brought them water, had been stabbed to death in a bar. Shockingly, Uncle Li was actually Li Ziqing, the real Zhu third brother from the cold case their drama was based on. The police were already investigating, questioning the director and other crew members, and Xiao He knew he would be called to give a statement soon. Lu Zheong explained that Li Ziqing had been lurking near the victim's family for over 20 years and had targeted their crew, especially Li Hanyue, the actress playing Wu Xiaohua. Li Ziqing planned to kidnap her and reenact the original murder to prove his criminal power and provoke the police again. Xiao He felt a chill, thinking Li Ziqing had died too easily. He worried about Li Hanyue, who was shaken and receiving psychological counseling. Xiao He sent her a brief message of comfort, and she replied with a tearful voice message, thanking him and Lu Zheong. She said that every time Li Ziqing had approached her, they had interrupted him, making her memories feel safer. Xiao He was glad his help had eased her fear. Soon after, Xiao He was summoned to the police station. His involvement was minimal. He had only shared a car with Li Ziqing the day before. He wasn't worried since he had cleaned his tracks and had no motive. But old Mr. Wu, who was auditing the case, kept firing computer-related questions at him, making him sweat. Still, Mr. Wu's eyes showed relief and closure, as he said the anonymous email had finally brought answers to the decades-old case. Xiao He left quietly. The investigation into Li Ziqing's murder revealed a surprise. Besides Li Ziqing's DNA, the killer had left traces of another fugitive named Shi Wei, a brutal murderer on the run for 7 years. Both from Province C, Shi Wei and Li Ziqing likely met while hiding, fought, and ended with Li Ziqing dead and Shi Wei wounded before he disappeared again. With Li Ziqing dead, the original Zhu third brother cold case finally closed after more than 20 years. The victim's family came to Shanghai to thank the police and crew, grateful that the drama had helped bring justice. Director Ho Rongxuan was thrilled by this unexpected good fortune and immediately called Xiao He back to reshoot, determined to create a complete ending for the case. After finishing reshoots for Killing Life, Xiao He officially joined the crew of Thief Catcher. The project came recommended by veteran Zhuo Jianhua. Its director, Lin Yiping, was a young man fresh out of drama school and barely known in the industry. For most actors, a martial arts film from an unknown director, likely only released online, would be a hard pass. But Xiao He wasn't most actors. For him, the chance to kill people for his system was enough. Thief Catcher was set in the corrupt Song dynasty, following Jiang Rushu, a wandering bounty hunter. Skilled in martial arts and sharp-witted, Jiang Rushu got caught up in a government salt smuggling case and was chased by multiple factions. He was a charismatic miser type who killed many pursuers, a role Xiao He would have loved to audition for if he had any real martial arts skills. Instead, Xiao He played Shinju, a cook at the Penglai Inn who was secretly a martial arts master feared for his bone-cleaving knife technique. Shinju had chosen a quiet life but was a loyal friend to Jiang Rushu, offering refuge and later using his knife to help Jiang Rushu break through enemy lines with crucial evidence. Though Shinju appeared rarely, his moments were always important. One day, while sitting in costume watching Lin Yiping direct, Xiao He was called by a young man in a heroic outfit with sharp features and piercing eyes, Pu Rong, the male lead playing Jiang Rushu. Xiao He knew Pu Rong had been a famous child star who left the industry to study martial arts before returning to acting. Pu Rong was confident and excited about Xiao He's knife videos. He asked if Xiao He really knew the bone-cleaving knife technique, how long he had trained, and if he had a master or took disciples. Xiao He modestly said he was just playing around casually with no master. Pu Rong then asked if Xiao He could teach him, offering to teach martial arts or wire work in return. Xiao He was happy to agree since the film had many fight scenes and Pu Rong's help with wire work would be useful. As they talked, Xiao He learned Pu Rong's return wasn't as successful as it seemed. Pu Rong said he'd lost his fame, the industry moved fast, and many thought he'd lost his looks. He admitted this was his last chance at a male lead role. If it failed, he planned to quit acting and open a martial arts school. Xiao He listened and felt moved by how different people's paths could be in the entertainment world. Their talk ended when Lin Yiping called out their character names, signaling them to the set. With a simple crew and most funds allocated to props and locations, Lin Yiping skipped a grand opening. The core crew merely bowed to a Guan Yu portrait in their rented inn, then prepared for filming. Xiao He stepped onto the thief catcher set, ready for his first martial arts scene as the cold, ruthless Shinju. Gripping the bone-cleaving knife, his eyes took on that same icy intensity the character demanded. Director Lin Yiping nodded in approval, and Pu Rong, who'd only seen Xiao He's knife skills in videos before, was genuinely impressed by his acting. He was eager to get the scene rolling. The scene opened with Pu Rong's character, the carefree swordsman Jiang Rushu, flipping through a window into Shunju's dim kitchen. Jiang Rushu made himself at home, casually grabbing fruit and hooking a jar of liquor with his foot. Shunju watched, annoyed but patient, warning Jiang Rushu that his troubles with the martial world and imperial court could bring danger to the inn. Jiang Rushu just laughed, saying it was too late and that he was actually helping by making the inn look occupied, which would save the landlady's flowers. Shinju didn't buy it. He grabbed Jiang Rushu and tossed him right back out the window. Jiang Rushu landed lightly, tossed the liquor back, and grinned, telling Shinju there was no need to thank him. The director called it a perfect take. Everyone was thrilled. Pu Rong praised Xiao He's performance, and Xiao He returned the compliment, impressed by Pu Rong's flawless acrobatics and wire work. The successful shoot lifted the crew's spirits, and filming went smoothly. That evening, back in his hotel room, Xiao He got a call from an unfamiliar number. It was Xiao Song from Heart of Embers, the web series where Xiao He had first moved from extra to villain actor. Xiao Song was excited. The series was premiering next week and wanted Xiao He to help promote it. Xiao He was surprised how fast post-production had wrapped, but Xiao Song explained that low-budget web series often got lucky broadcast slots when other shows ran into trouble. Xiao He agreed, even though his new social media account barely had followers, and quickly set one up to send out the details. While online, Xiao He checked on Ran Yunrui, the traffic star involved in the car accident. Ran Yunrui had been discharged and was back at work, his agency having spun the incident successfully. A top fan's post claimed Ran Yunrui had personally cooled the hype to avoid cyberbullying, urging fans to be rational and not harass the driver. Xiao He shook his head, feeling sorry for fans who had no idea their idol had orchestrated the whole thing, wasting their genuine affection. Xiao He threw himself into the tough shoot of Heart of Embers. The schedule was tight, and the low budget meant rushing every scene. Even with his bone-cleaving knife technique, the director's demand for perfection gave him tendinitis from all the retakes. Pu Rong had it worse, spending most days suspended on wires for fight scenes. When premiere day came, Xiao He posted the promo as Xiao Song had asked. With only a few followers, he got no likes or comments but didn't mind. He'd done his part. Xiao Song thanked him, and the official Heart of Embers page liked his post, so it wasn't a total flop. That night, the show premiered on Penguin Video. Xiao He watched the first episode out of curiosity and saw modest views mostly from fans of the male lead, Zhao Shuyu. The plot was a typical crime romance. A rookie female cop and an elite male detective falling in love while solving cases. The mystery was predictable and the acting just okay. He figured it was an average web drama with no real chance to break out and stopped watching to focus on Thief Catcher. He had no idea that later, an edited clip from Heart of Embers would blow up on Bilibili. Xiao Zhao, a Bilibili editor struggling to keep up with bigger studios, was desperate for fresh content. While checking fan submissions, she found a screenshot from Heart of Embers she'd never heard of. It showed a bloodied young man with gold-rimmed glasses, a chainsaw in hand, and cold, cruel eyes. She was shocked such a character could appear in domestic media. This gentleman villain was exactly what she needed, sparking ideas for a perfect edit. She compared his potential to Hannibal Lecter's iconic status. Excited, Xiao Zhao found the killer's scenes in Heart of Embers. Though brief, each was a display of elegant brutality, the chainsaw like a paintbrush, innocent lives the canvas. The show never explained his motives. He was pure, sudden evil who died under the male lead's gun, leaving the female lead traumatized. Xiao Zhao was both scared and fascinated, finally understanding why villains attract fans. She decided her next video had to feature him. That night, she uploaded her gentleman villain edit to Bilibili, with a thumbnail of Xiao He's killer holding a chainsaw and blood-red calligraphy of the title. The video went viral overnight, haunting many viewers. Without knowing it, Xiao He had become the definitive gentleman villain serial killer actor online. One morning, as Xiao He was getting ready for work, Xiao Song called, excitedly telling him he'd gone viral and was trending. Xiao He was confused, wondering if Ran Yunrui had exposed him online. But Xiao Song clarified it was his role as the serial killer Mu Zhe that had blown up on Bilibili. Stunned, Xiao He borrowed the makeup artist's phone and saw a video featuring Mu Zhe's face as the thumbnail. The comments were flooded with praise and fear about his performance. The video was a compilation of all his scenes from Heart of Embers, expertly edited by a content creator named Xiao Zhao the Roamer. She matched the music and action perfectly, using black and white transitions to balance gore and push censorship limits, making it thrilling and addictive. The most shocking part was an alternate ending Xiao Zhao had created. After being shot, the killer reappears in the woods, chainsaw in hand, humming calmly, then stares directly at the camera with greedy, obsessed eyes, as if targeting the viewer. This chilling gaze made many viewers shudder and share the video widely, dragging others into the nightmare. Caught up, Xiao He instinctively liked, favorited, and shared the video before realizing it wasn't his account. He quickly canceled and returned the phone. The makeup artist was impressed, asking if that terrifying killer was really him. Back on the phone, Xiao Song said the video had sent their show's viewership soaring overnight, with engagement metrics jumping. Fans were asking about Xiao He, and his account had been tagged under their official post. Their director advised him to consider signing with an agency to develop his career but warned him to be careful and reach out if he needed help. Xiao He felt lucky to have such support. After hanging up, Xiao He checked his account, which lagged under a flood of notifications. His followers had jumped from under 100 to over 10,000. Then his cheat system auto-updated, showing his points had surged from almost nothing to over 300 and kept rising. He realized the system wasn't just about the difficulty of crimes but also the attention or fear they generated. His viral Mu Zhe performance had created huge exposure and strong emotional reactions, all converting into points. Now Xiao He was eager for his next project, Killing Life, to release. His role as Zhu third brother would surely bring even more points. Xiao He found himself an unexpected internet sensation after his terrifying performance as Mu Zhe went viral. On the set of Thief Catcher, his colleagues Lin Yiping and Pu Rong congratulated him, urging him to capitalize on his newfound fame by signing with an agency. Xiao He knew it wasn't that simple. His system only allowed him to play characters who kill, which clashed with most agencies' profit-driven goals. He valued his freedom and survival more than fleeting stardom, preferring to stay independent for now, especially since most people still thought his name was Mu Zhe. Still, he appreciated his friend's concern. Pu Rong offered to make inquiries in the industry, and Lin Yiping promised to ask his senior colleagues for advice. Xiao He cooperated as Lin Yiping, the multi-talented director, took promotional photos for Thief Catcher. Lin expertly captured Xiao He's intense gaze and rustic charm, turning simple peasant clothes into something compelling. Amazed by the results, Xiao He posted them to his new social media account, hoping to use the free publicity for their production. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Fans flooded his comments, still obsessed with his serial killer role, though some eagerly awaited his new wuxia project. It was Xiao He's first taste of widespread appreciation, and the sheer volume of support felt surprisingly real. Meanwhile, far from the set, Chung Hongwon, an ace agent at top-tier How Entertainment, received a detailed report on Xiao He's sudden rise. The newcomer's videos had amassed millions of views, boosting Heart of Ember's viewership. Chung Hongwon remembered Xiao He, though not fondly. Their previous encounter during a car accident had left him with the impression of an intimidating thug, not a promising actor. Yet talent was talent. Despite reservations, Chung Hongwon decided to make contact, confident no one would refuse an offer from How Entertainment. The next day, Xiao He was surprised to hear How Entertainment wanted to sign him. Despite their bad reputation, he agreed to meet just to understand their terms. Lin Yiping warned him to be cautious, and Xiao He said he was only going to check it out. He arrived early at a familiar cafe near the film base, greeted the owner's sister Zhou, and settled into a quiet corner. After 20 minutes and half his coffee gone, the person he was supposed to meet still hadn't shown. Frustrated, Xiao He called the assistant he'd spoken to earlier. The assistant was rushing to catch up with Chung Hongwon, who told them to reschedule Xiao He because they had to pick up their star Su Yuyu, stuck at a hotel. The assistant hung up on Xiao He to call the driver. Hearing the busy signal, Xiao He laughed bitterly. He'd been stood up and clearly wasn't taken seriously. Then a breaking news alert popped up. National Best Actress Su Yuyu secretly meeting her boyfriend. Suspected romance exposed. Xiao He realized Su Yuyu was a How Entertainment artist and guessed the scandal was why they ignored him. He learned Su Yuyu was a rising star pushed hard by How Entertainment, known for pure, innocent roles. Her fans were fiercely protective, seeing her as their little cabbage. So the romance scandal caused a huge backlash. Xiao He shook his head, seeing the downside of fame. Finishing his coffee, He got ready to leave and figure out how to handle the agent who stood him up. As he headed for the door, a girl wearing a hat and mask rushed past him toward the back door. Moments later, a masked man slipped in through the door Xiao He opened, following her. Xiao He froze, caught a glimpse of the man disappearing, and narrowed his eyes. The man gave off a familiar, suspicious vibe. Xiao He pulled back and followed them. The back door led to a narrow, cluttered alley. Carefully moving through the mess, he spotted the two. The masked girl had lost control, turning to the man and begging him to stop following her, asking if one exposure wasn't enough. Actress Su Yuyu was panicked and screaming as paparazzi and obsessive fans closed in after her secret relationship leaked. She fled her hotel, but a suspicious man started following her. He claimed not to be paparazzi but her biggest fan, clutching a camera and obsessing over how he hadn't washed the hand she once touched because it still carried her scent. Terrified, Su Yuyu tried to leave, but he grabbed her wrist, demanding to know about her boyfriend and accusing her of betraying fans. Just as he removed his mask and started sniffing her, Xiao He appeared, yanking the man back by his camera strap and slamming his head against the wall. Before the stalker could react, Xiao He punched him hard, then kicked him to the ground. Xiao He asked if Su Yuyu was okay, but she warned the stalker had a knife. Xiao He dodged a slash and stayed calm as the man wildly waved the blade, screaming. Then Xiao He pulled out a dessert fork he'd taken from Sister Zhou's cafe and used it with precise knife skills to slash the stalker's wrist, making the knife fall. He kicked the weapon away and told the man to stay still because the police were coming. Officers Zhang and Li arrived to find Xiao He bloodied over the injured stalker, with a shaken Su Yuyu nearby. The officers, who had mistakenly arrested Xiao He before, were suspicious. Officer Li looked disappointed, thinking Xiao He was back to trouble. Xiao He said he'd learned the knife moves for acting roles, picking up some stuff online. Officer Zhang just gave him a knowing look, calling him a fast learner. The tense mood lasted on the way to the station. Then Chung Hongwen rushed in, worried about Su Yuyu. She said she was fine and credited Xiao He with saving her. Chung Hongwen, surprised to see Xiao He, called them business acquaintances and warned Su Yuyu that calling her boyfriend now would ruin her career. Xiao He, however, showed Chung Hongwen his missed calls, asking if this was why Chung Hongwen had stood him up and ghosted him. After the chaotic rescue, Xiao He dealt with an apologetic assistant and a scheming Chung Hongwen. The assistant kept apologizing for standing him up, while Chung Hongwen scolded his subordinate, but clearly tried to shift blame, which Xiao He saw right through. Chung Hongwen then tried to recruit Xiao He to How Entertainment, praising his talent and offering a better contract, even suggesting his rescue of Su Yuyu deserved a reward. Xiao He refused flatly, saying he wasn't compatible with them and didn't want repayment for just doing the right thing. Su Yuyu stood quietly nearby, watching. Officer Zhang and Officer Li arrived next, confirming the stalker's chest camera had recorded everything, proving Xiao He acted in self-defense. Officer Zhang warned Xiao He to hold back next time, which made him feel a bit embarrassed. Chung Hongwen immediately shifted focus to the stalker, pushing for justice and mentioning lawyers on the way. Officer Li then apologized to Xiao He for the police's repeated misunderstandings. Xiao He, used to their suspicions, asked if this was the stalker's first offense. He explained he sensed something off about the stalker and that the man's agitated comments about Su Yuyu's relationship, especially the word, also, suggested other victims might be involved. Officer Li took this seriously and promised to recheck the footage and investigate the stalker, Kuan Ping, thoroughly. Xiao He's insight gave them a new lead. As Xiao He was about to leave, Pu Rong called, urging him to check the trending searches. Xiao He was shocked to see headlines like Su Yuyu's mysterious boyfriend appearing, and that it was him. The photos showed Su Yuyu with a young man in sunglasses and a mask, wearing a white t-shirt, jeans, and a black backpack, the exact outfit Xiao He was wearing. He realized he was the mysterious boyfriend. Pu Rong confirmed this and warned him about Su Yuyu's fans, offering help. Lin Yiping's voice was heard in the background, saying he was contacting family elders to suppress the trending topic. Xiao He denied any romantic involvement but knew he had to handle the situation. He was glad his face wasn't visible in the photos since his growing career couldn't handle a scandal. Xiao He went to find Chung Hongwen, who had also seen the news. Chung Hongwen frowned briefly but then relaxed, relieved the paparazzi hadn't identified Su Yuyu's real boyfriend, top idol Su Shengxi. He decided the best way to limit damage was to let everyone believe Xiao He was Su Yuyu's boyfriend, using him as a scapegoat. Su Yuyu's manager, Cheng Hongwen, pressured her to admit she was dating Xiao He, arguing that if the public found out she was really involved with Su Shengxi, both their careers would be ruined. A scandal with Xiao He, a newcomer, would hurt her less and even boost his fame. Su Yuyu was torn, especially when Su Shengxi called, gently urging her to agree for their future. Cheng Hongwen grabbed the phone, cut off the call, and pushed his plan. Xiao He would gain from the attention as her boyfriend, and Su Yuyu could reshape her image into a mature, heartbroken woman. Xiao He then appeared, having overheard everything. He sarcastically applauded, his eyes cold as he called out their scheme. Chung Hongwen, caught off guard, quickly tried to convince Xiao He to cooperate by offering an A-level contract and lead roles at How Entertainment. But Xiao He saw through the offer, pointing out that the traffic would mostly be negative and firmly refused. Xiao He asked Su Yuyu if she agreed, but before she could answer, Chung Hongwen silenced her harshly, leaving her trembling and defeated. Xiao He looked on with a mix of irony and sadness, telling her that if she couldn't stand on her own, her life wouldn't improve. Then he left. Chung Hongwen threatened Xiao He, reminding him he was a nobody without a company or background. Xiao He just chuckled and walked away. Chung Hongwen immediately started hiring online trolls to attack him. Su Yuyu clenched her fists but stayed silent. Elsewhere, Su Shengxi hung up as his manager, Lu Rulan, came in. She said Xiao He's sudden appearance had drawn public attention away from Su Shengxi, and no one suspected him. Lu Rulan, a veteran manager who had handled many stars, warned him that idols couldn't date. Su Shengxi complained that idols were human too and deserved to have desires, saying dating was better than being ignored. Despite his charm, Lu Rulan found him hopeless and frustrating, secretly wishing she could expose him and quit. For now, though, she was stuck cleaning up his messes. Xiao He went back to Sister Zhou's cafe and settled into a quiet corner with his laptop. Trouble had found him despite his efforts to avoid it, and he wasn't backing down. Online, discussions about Su Yuyu's mysterious boyfriend had exploded, with netizens speculating wildly about the masked figure. The volume of chatter was even bigger than Xiao He expected. He quickly used his hacking skills to track and quietly limit the reach of Chung Hongwen's Water Army accounts, including those tied to How Entertainment. These accounts could still post, but Xiao He's tech made their messages lag and reduced their exposure. Then he analyzed the paparazzi photos of Su Yuyu's supposed boyfriend. Chung Hongwen had said the real guy was a famous industry figure, and Xiao He identified him as Su Shengxi, a top idol under Jiaxing Entertainment. His identity and appearance matched perfectly, and Xiao He found his assistant's hotel records confirming Su Shengxi was in Shanghai. With the target confirmed, Xiao He drafted articles and sent them to rival marketing accounts from both How Entertainment and Jiaxing Entertainment. These accounts, hungry for traffic, quickly picked up the anonymous tip. Some hesitated because of Su Shengxi's influence, but most jumped in, pushing the story about Su Shengxi and Su Yuyu's relationship to the top of trending topics. Before either side could respond, the story was everywhere. Netizens compared details and realized the earlier masked college guy was taller than Su Shengxi. They concluded the masked guy was just a scapegoat, and attention shifted fully to the two stars. Meanwhile, Chung Hongwen glared at his computer, furious and confused about how the marketing accounts had moved so fast. His assistant said their Water Army's messages wouldn't send because their networks kept showing busy. Chung Hongwen found this ridiculous since their Water Armies had proper offices near China Mobile's building. He decided Su Yuyu's rivals were attacking them and ordered his assistant to find new Water Armies and get the trending tags removed. The assistant agreed and left quickly before Chung Hongwen's anger grew. On Su Shengxi's side, Lu Rulan had Jiaxing Entertainment issue denials, trying to hold firm. But the online storm was out of control. Su Yuyu's rising fame and Su Shengxi's huge, devoted fanbase created a perfect storm that blew up the scandal. As for Xiao He, no one cared about him anymore. With the real target exposed, he erased all traces of his photos, borrowed a jacket from Sister Zhou to hide his clothes and backpack, and slipped out of the cafe unnoticed, leaving everyone else to feast on the scandal he had set off. The online frenzy around Su Yuyu and Su Shengxi showed no sign of dying down. Despite their public denials, most people believed they'd been forced to break up under pressure, with netizens digging into every detail. But this had nothing to do with Xiao He or the thief-catcher crew. When Xiao He arrived on set, Pu Rong immediately checked on him after hearing how Xiao He had saved Su Yuyu from a stalker. Xiao He said he was fine and that the stalker was the one who got hurt. Director Lin Yiping criticized the paparazzi for spreading fake gossip, especially with Su Yuyu standing right there. Pu Rong wanted to sue, but Xiao He said it was pointless since the paparazzi didn't even know who he was and his face wasn't shown. A netizen had already reported the paparazzi's past crimes to the police. Pu Rong and Lin agreed Xiao He should stay out of it to avoid being accused of chasing fame, even if it meant missing free publicity. Xiao He laughed, knowing claiming credit would only get their team torn apart online. The topic was dropped, and filming continued. They'd finished the in-scenes and moved to outdoor action shots. Budget constraints meant they couldn't shoot in Jiangnan's water towns as planned, so they used a lakeside park for the final fight. In this key scene, Pu Rong's character Jiang Rushu, who uncovered the mastermind behind a government smuggling case, gets crucial evidence but is intercepted by tough thief-catchers. Xiao He's character Shinju arrives to hold off the attackers, letting Jiang Rushu escape. Holding his bone-cleaving knife, Xiao He felt nervous. Pu Rong, a real martial artist who'd brought award-winning fighters from his family school for the supporting roles, noticed and asked if he was nervous. Pu Rong reassured him, saying the experts would match his moves. But as the only amateur, Xiao He's nerves only grew. Looking for a confidence boost, Xiao He opened his criminal cheat skill system. The viral serial killer video had earned him over 600 points, enough for 6 low-tier draws. He'd been saving them, hoping for a skill like Qinggong to help with the action scenes. He knew the system could be weird but decided to try. He made 6 draws. Most were just lifespan extensions totaling nearly 3 months. Then he got a new skill, Hound's Intuition, which lets him sense undercover hounds nearby. That is, hidden police. Xiao He was speechless. He already had a passive skill to detect criminals. Now he could detect cops too. He felt like a human recognition machine, and it was useless for what he needed. Just as frustration hit, Director Lin called out for Shinju to come over. The lighting was perfect. Lin pulled Xiao He aside and whispered that most props were one-time use, so he should try to nail the scene in one take. Xiao He nearly blacked out from the pressure.